Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back yet again.
So, guys, we're going to be doing another video right after this one with stuff on Evolutionary that might be a little touchy for EEARTS. So this is going to be a little bit more of the supply chain side of things, the food shortages side of things with some question marks as the herd of water buffaloes come through.
Careful, babies. Sorry.
Okay, sorry guys.
Hold on.
This is what two prancing puppies sound like at 4 months old.
Dancer and Dancer.
Yeah, they're going to be like reindeer. And out of Breitbart, we see the world in chaos. Now, the International Monetary Fund has become the most recent global body to issue warning regarding food shortages, saying nations are at risk of civil unrest. That's the ultimate big issue here. You know, again, our good friend David Devine, DAP 2030, has talked about this. And, you know, we talked about how China has bought up whatever they can to supply their people, even though obviously we see lockdown and, as we were making reference to, just a few veggies here and there being supplied to the people of Shanghai, yet the food stores in China have to be very high compared to many other nations, as they bought like 50% of the world's corn the last year or two, and a big chunk of the world's wheat, because they know that ultimately when there's no food, people are out in the streets and it gets nasty. And just again, look to our history. I've been basically getting Cindy up to date, because to me it feels like we are in 1939 and we're in maybe Warsaw and it's July. Maybe it's June. Anyway, if you guys know what happens shortly thereafter, you understand where I'm going with this. It's so apparent that we are in a very similar circumstance to a level of chaos descending upon the planet that we haven't seen in our lifetimes, unless we're 90-something years old.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's definitely a time to beef up on your skills and understand what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses when it comes to getting food from sources other than the store. Just kind of explore that a little bit now.
Really go deep. And we do have books on that. We have books on foraging in different areas. I mean, I had a book on foraging in North Carolina in the Appalachians, which wouldn't be maybe too far off from here, but very far off from when we were in the desert. And we do have information on foraging in the desert, which is a lot more difficult. Just because we've made our way from the east to the west and then into the middle, and the guides told us, you know, hang in the middle. That's where they want us anyway, and everybody has to listen to your own guides, develop that ability. It's so important. We're gonna try to get a second video up later on today talking more about that side of things. And now, if the IMF, who is again the International Monetary Fund, and we've shown these tangled ties between so many power brokers on this planet, is saying this, and you know it's already upon us. We've also seen a ton, every day it's increasing, of fires and disasters where it comes to the food supply. Bonanza Meat Company building on Paisano Drive near downtown El Paso, on fire. Fire erupts at meat processing facility. Crews battle major fire, Cobb County Meat Company. Fire shuts down Nebraska beef plant. Massive fire at Salinas food processing plant contained. Cattle rescued after fire destroys meat market. Large fire at Tyson poultry meal plant. In Alabama, fire shuts down Hot Pockets plant. Oh dear. In Jonesboro. Now, guys, you shouldn't be eating the Hot Pockets. Anyway, think again. We want to eat real food, not the pseudo food that's full of artificial things that might preserve your body for 50 years, albeit it won't allow the life force to flow. If you understand, I hope more and more people can understand about things like life force, ki, chi, prana, tie it into enzymes. And a lot of people are probably scratching their heads saying, enzymes? Well, I just think about calories and how many, maybe I even think about my macronutrients, or maybe I'm going and thinking about micronutrients. But enzymes? Yes, enzymes. How are you going to utilize it? Break it down. It's so important to understand how the body was meant to function and how the modern day lifestyle lends itself to modern day diseases. And when we see our food supply just disappearing before our faces, we could go on with Wisconsin River Meats, portion of their plant, total loss at a fire. Delhi Star Meat Plant, St. Clair County, Nut Deli Meats. Don't eat stuff with nitrates that causes cancer. So, if you are addicted to bacon, get nitrate-free bacon. If you are addicted to deli meats, look at the labels. There's other stuff in there that causes cancer too. Look for carrageenan and other things. You don't want anything artificial. We want to eat natural food as much as possible. And of course, this is now, unfortunately, they're turning it into an artificial planet, just like their home planet.
Step by step. I mean, one baby step at a time. They're turning this into a planet where our physical nature is going to kind of fall in line with their agenda, and we're going to need more doctors and more help from the system to stay afloat.
Explosion causes fire at Oregon potato chip plant. And then San Antonio, another fire with a food processing plant. Fire ravages McCrum potato processing plant in Belfast, Maine. Multiple alarm fire at food processing operation, Hamilton Mountain. Memphis Fire Department responds to third alarm fire at Kellogg's Company. Explosion and fire reported at Cargill Nutrina feed mill. You get the picture? You would make you think the entire world's on fire, right? And then we could add this one to it. Azure Standard fire destroys Azure Standard headquarters facility. This is the nation's premier independent distributor of organic and healthy food, destroyed by a fire overnight. Wow, okay. 4/22. We are in the month of 4, April 22. So this is clicking the all. When I click the news, there's no news about it. Whoa, that's weird. You would think there'd be some news about it. Nope. Now, this is something that you guys that do research, you might run into too, a lot. Nobody's covering this on the news. Why aren't they covering this on the news? You're looking to freedomphoenix.com, americanspartisan.org. We're looking at these small sideline news organizations because nobody in the mainstream is covering this. Oh, okay. Now you know you got something.
Yes, you definitely have something that needs to be talked about, that needs to be brought to people's attention, because I think the whole game here is to catch people off guard, and that's just so wrong on so many levels.
And Rama's chiming up about that too. He really is worried about his food supply.
He is.
Oh yeah, you don't want to see Rama when he gets hungry. This boy can eat, as he's already somewhere around Zeke's size or bigger. Why are all these places burning down in 2022? This is again an all too perfect storm. It's too perfect. There's no way. I mean, come on. We know. We could see what's going on. So then we could think logically, and we could see that there is the building up of these dark clouds of war, just like were happening in 1939 in Europe. And we could say, well, this has to be, the opposition. And they're attacking our ability to feed ourselves over here. And, I didn't look into the UK or France or Canada or Australia to see if you guys, over in those countries are getting the same thing. Interesting, too, when Cindy and I do a lot of energy work, a lot of spiritual coaching and things like Vedic astrology charts. Actually, 55% of the people that we work on are actually not in the USA. And that always struck me as interesting. And, just thought I would share that with you guys. So you might be seeing it out there, too, in all the other NATO countries. And, this is talking about more of the small farms and the small processing plants, too, because people are running into that. There's this couple here that are raising 400 pigs in their farm in Northwood, New Hampshire. And they basically, their business is all about specialty meats, et cetera, but then they're running into problems just like the bigger companies are. In the U.S., about 90% of the population are meat eaters. They're omnivores, so they're eating meat as well as other products. And of course, when we get up into 5D, and this is going on EEARTS, so the EEARTS family, it tends to be a little bit more towards the spiritual focus than Evolutionary, because when Evolutionary came out, it was covering more of the news, but with a spiritual twist. On 5D, we don't even have to eat, period. We could just basically absorb the life force. And there have been cases of yogis that have been monitored, and the same thing has been shown, that they can live for a long period of time, perhaps even indefinitely, in their natural lifespan without eating. But for the average person, especially somebody that's been, including in things like fast food and even things like Applebee's and Red Lobster and the chains, which still don't have the greatest quality food, it could be really tough on the system to start to eat healthy, and especially to start to try to adhere to maybe a plant-based diet. But again, we need to be detoxing all the time. As we see this headline, Texas woman steals over $2,000 in meat from HEB as clerk tries to stop. And this is actually a video somebody took. She just loaded her cart up. And, I guess $2,000 could be just a cart or two nowadays. That's a lot of money. And here she is just throwing it into the trunk, And this is where people are getting desperate. And we're going to see more of this desperation, especially when, we're really getting hungry, when people are really, truly getting hungry. I don't think the masses are at that point right now. Right now, the masses are starting to wake up and say, uh-oh, there's something wrong here. And meanwhile, us that have been prepping for years, we totally understand what's going on. And we're more like fine-tuning things and thinking, okay, well, I got plenty of this, but I think I might need a little bit of that. As I shared with you guys, there was something I had bought, and I got 12 for the price of what now you would get 6. And, it's one of those things we have to be aware what's going on, and people will get more desperate. Be very aware of your surroundings. Meanwhile, you have 46 in his administration going to ask Congress to expand the military aids funds as they're almost exhausted already. When you look at the dollar amount that's gone into funding this conflict, and it's going up, and they're asking for more, wow, does that boggle the mind? And then you got the food supply problems that are going on. And, I don't know if it was in that interview between David Devine and Carrie Cassidy that it came up, or if it was somewhere else. I was just listening to somebody say what we're all thinking. If you're really in your right mind right now, we would be putting all our money towards making more food for the population, which is going to be getting very hungry and very angry, unless there's a totally different agenda.
Mm-hmm. Right. I just want to step back one and talk about that lady that was taking all the meat and, wondering what's the agenda on that. And I noticed a couple of things with the mask. She's wearing the mask and they're getting videotape and rolling in the AI, because they're going to need to, when these food shortages get bad, they're going to need ways to catch people who are stealing like this, and they will be able to, as long as they have your retina, as long as they have your eyes. So, I think that's been rolling out with the AI for quite a while, and they're just finding reasons to really, really use it now. They're going to say, see, this is happening. We really need this AI. So, they always have, every time you see something like this happening, believe me, their agenda is right there.
Absolutely. And just think about that. People are emboldened when they have a mask on their face.
Yes.
There are people that might be very much on the edge and might do something they shouldn't. But if they didn't have a mask on their face, they would be a little bit more inclined to maybe not do something because they might get caught. But if there is a mask on their face, then right off the bat, they might be thinking, how can they tell, who I am? And so they might step over the edge where they wouldn't step over the edge if they were maskless. Think about that, as well as thinking about what Cindy got from the guides right away, which was this was all about testing basically new technology that's going to use the iris. And we're all going to be getting identified by our eyes. That's all they're going to need is to see your eye. And they'll know who you are. And it'll be categorized. And so this is a little article talking about why the world's largest fertilizer company told to reduce its shipments. And we've covered this again. When you track the money, it all comes back to these big conglomerates, which all track back again to exactly where we started in the first place, with the IMF and the WEF and others. And here's Walletmore, and get your implant. Yeah, you don't got to worry about bringing anything out with you because it's just going to be right in the webbing between your thumb and index. Just this tiny little grain of rice. You might notice it, you might not. You might think, hey, that's just a vein there. Oh, no, that's not a vein. Yeah, you don't have to take anything with you. But everything will be on there. And at first, maybe it's going to be, I don't even think at first. They're going to reel it out together. Which is not far off. It's not far off. And, I'm hesitant to speak any more on this channel. We'll speak up more over on Evolutionary and then perhaps just on Rumble and Brighteon. Food production going to be substantially lower than anticipated all over the entire globe. And so right now, you could look at this year as two halves. And the first half is the buildup where the masses are starting to realize something is not normal here. This isn't going to just roll back into our old normalcy. So many people were enjoying, like we were saying, if we go to our little town downtown and, things feel fairly normal. In small town America, they feel pretty good, but then there's this buzz that people know this is the calm before the real storm. And we could see that storm on the horizon. Now, the second half of this year is going to be realizing, the storm has hit. And then how are we going to be dealing with that? While you have time, get out there and, do what you can to get things for yourself to grow. And again, work with your neighbors, work with your family members. If you have the ability to even maybe buy a lot in town that nobody is doing anything with. Of course, when times get tough, people might steal. And we were just having that debate because we bought a couple of trees and Cindy's like, put them in the backyard. And I'm like, but there's nothing in the front yard. And, the front yard is, our yard's tiny in the first place. But, just worried about the fact that people might take stuff from the trees when the trees come into bloom. But, hey, well then, hopefully it'll help somebody that's starving. And hopefully it'll, keep a person a friend instead of, making them an adversary. Think about even providing beyond you and your family if you're able to. If you're somebody that maybe you're in a beautiful suburban area and you have acreage and maybe you're even getting up there a little bit in age and your back can't take all the planting, but maybe there's neighbors' kids that have plenty of strong backs and time. Well, maybe they could do the planting for you. Maybe you can all share in the proceeds. We're going to have to do things out of the box.
And what really helps things go smoother around you, and we're going to do another energy video after this, is this meditation and the mantras. I swear, you start 60 seconds of that a day and just watch how your home starts to function better. But yeah, having the trees up front, maybe that would be to help someone, more likely to help someone than, someone coming in. So you always want to have some kind of balance, some kind of offering to bring harmony, to bring that behavior which everyone can get along with.
Absolutely. And we see the fewest Americans collecting jobless aid since 1970. 1970. Wow. But at the same time, are we doing better? Not really, because the real income is collapsing at an unprecedented rate. And Americans are earning more, but inflation's eating up their rising wages. And they're paying more than ever in taxes. We can attest. It's the system is just destroying the quality of life for the vast majority of people. And you know what? It's not going to get better while this system's in place. I just want to be completely upfront and honest with you in that sense. I think that the worst time period that we're going through is right now through 2025-ish. I think that's going to be the toughest part. I do think that there's going to be rough waves after 2025. 2030 is when we might start to see the true tide turn. And I know a lot of people, people have a tendency, you want immediate satisfaction now. So that's why there's many people that gravitate to these channels, which are feeding them falsehoods and false things. Again, look at what people were saying. As it boggles my mind sometimes when people will say, see, hey, this is all going to change. They're stealing the gold right now from the bad guys, and they're going to give it to you and me. Come on, it's again, it's pie in the sky. These people that are in control are not going to give up their control. They're going to hold on to it until their last dying breath. For the most part, most of them will. It's going to be us coming up with alternatives to the system and making them insignificant, making it so that they no longer control the entire globe. And they do control. There has been a one world order in place. Now, there's going to be a new world order, which just basically, it just kind of uproots the old, plants it in a new location, clamps down with even tougher, more stringent laws, takes away more of the ability of the average person to have what we would have considered just a normal middle class or lower middle class life, even as we're just being pushed into the workforce, so to speak, and the elite of the elite. It's the billionaire class that keeps increasing, but the fact is more and more people are entering the poor class, and this is going to accelerate over the next few years. We have to realize that these channels that are talking to you and giving you hope of stuff that's going to be pulled out from under you just in a matter of a few months, like talking about Nasara Gasara. Yes, I would love my student loans to be forgiven, and that might really happen, as number 46's administration did just basically wash away a certain amount of loans. I think it was mostly for people that are handicapped. Yet they're never going to do anything out of the goodness of their heart. There's always there's reasons why, and again, it's because of this tsunami and tidal wave that we're in right now, which they know is going to overtake the vast majority of people.
Mm-hmm. And always, always, always keep in mind that anything that we're getting that looks like it might be free, there is nothing out there for free. There's got to be some kind of energetic exchange. So whatever they're doing now, which appears to be out of the goodness of their heart, I guarantee you they're going to ask something in return. Nothing is free.
No, it's not. So again, knowledge is power too, and knowing things that you might find perhaps in your area. And this is 10 wild superfoods that you may or may not be familiar with. Now, we'll give you a little update. The backyard is a mess after the storms, and we're kind of embarrassed to actually show you right now. But happily, the berry bushes that we planted are doing great, and they're all coming back. And we actually have blueberries out there that we planted last year, and this year they're going to be giving us blueberries, and I think we'll have a ton of them probably in a year or two. And really, I want to go and plant this stuff everywhere. Everywhere. I want to fill every little nook and cranny, really, the front yard too, which might make us a target, in that we are in an area where there's people walking by all the time. And it's not ideal, but it's what we could have afforded at this period in time. Yet, this is a nice, friendly town, and again, it's what the energy is that you're putting out. And yes, we will work with our people that need help. We will. when the time comes, we'll get out there and help as many as we can in person as we do or try to do via distance every day. But blueberries, now again, look to your grow zone, see what does well in your grow zone. Blueberries are fabulous. They are a superfood. They're so nutrient dense. They have so many things that can help fight cancer and anti-inflammatory, anti-diabetes, great micronutrients. How about dandelion greens? All the people that would call up the local True Green or something like that, and I got dandelions, got to get rid of them, and spread toxins on your lawn. Hopefully, I think a lot of people now realize that those dandelions are worth more than that perfect lawn, because you could actually eat the dandelion greens. And as it says here, step aside kale and spinach. Ounce for ounce, dandelions have more vitamin K, which is a natural blood thinner, magnesium, iron, potassium, calcium, phosphorus, and other minerals and vitamins than any other leafy green. Yeah, they could help with liver disorders, diabetes, urinary disorders, jaundice, anemia, helps maintain bone health, skincare, weight loss. Dandelions also known to aid in improving appetite, reduce muscle pain, easing stomach disorders, and treat bruises. A lot better than what you're going to get from a Chem lawn or a True Green lawn. That's stuff that's going to end up toxifying the water all around you. This is where our society had gone so wrong, but people are waking up now. Goldenrod flowers. Clinical study by the University of Illinois showed that distillation of dandelion flowers in an infusion or tea indicated relief for urinary tract and bladder infections. And goldenrod's another one, cardiovascular benefits, capillary strength, high in antioxidants, even higher than green tea. Blackberry leaves. We planted blueberries last year. We planted blackberries. We planted raspberries. We planted grapes. I was worried about the grapevines, but they're all coming back strong, so that's awesome. The blackberries look really good. And the leaves are very nutritious. Again, antibacterial properties. It can help with gum infections, gum inflammation. They can soothe sore throats. Think about this. Mother Nature's taking care of all these things. She's even worried about your hemorrhoids.
Yes,
and
awesome.
Yes, and this could treat hemorrhoids.
Wow.
Yes. Skin rashes, rheumatism. As you see, a blackberry leaf tea. Walnuts. Again, it's a matter of, do we want to have the perfect lawn out there? Well, 10 years ago, unfortunately, many more people would have been worried about that perfect looking lawn. And when we bought this house, the backyard looked great. It doesn't look great now, but it's productive now. Yes. So that's the important thing. I don't care what the lawn looks like. Who cares? And when we were raking up the leaves and we were putting the leaves over by the garden area, finding all these healthy fat earthworms, which I showed Rama and he ate one.
He did. We showed him and he's like, gulp. I mean, the guy is just hilarious. But I mean, look at the walnuts. Something I want to point out about the walnuts is their shape, and many times we can correlate the shape of the food to what parts of the body it's going to help. So walnuts are very, very good for the brain. And I know a lot of you guys, when it comes to the yard work, what you're doing is hooking up with local people to help get the fertilizer in that you need. So I already see people coming together, which is really beautiful.
Absolutely. Yeah, walnuts can improve brain health related to dementia, act as a mood booster, and also they can help with the LDL, the bad cholesterol. And I think of just the tendency in this world, my cholesterol is off. Well, hey, just give me something. As opposed to realizing it's completely about diet. Maybe I should back off the red meat. Maybe I should eat more of a plant-based diet. Maybe I should look into eating some walnuts. How about oats? I love. One of the favorite things that I really like is, and I almost view it like a dessert, is when we do steel-cut oats with some strawberry preserves that are natural and organic and some butter. And again, just think about it. People in the 70s and 80s thought they were doing great. I don't eat butter anymore. I take margarine. And yeah. We understand now the margarine is way worse than the butter. Butter actually has at least some good to it and less of the technology. And when another thing, I know Rosemary, our naturopathic friend that's helped us with many things and helped our knowledge base. She's a naturopath out of Australia, and she's definitely one of our dearest friends. And I'm starting to lose my track of my... Oh, she wanted us to speak about the fact that synthetic vitamins, so many synthetic vitamins, they're made in ways you don't want to take them in. So you got to know what you're taking in. And again, nutrition that comes from food is always better. Now Cindy knows, I'll make up a plate of salad that's enormous, and I'll pretty much finish it every single time as my body craves it.
All right. He's very good about his salads, and we just make one big plate and I eat maybe a quarter of it and he finishes the rest, but it's so good for you. And one thing I wanted to point out while we're talking about nutrition, and to kind of gauge how far we have been misled, if you look at the food pyramid, the way they used to teach it, and you turn it completely upside down, that's the way it should have been all along. Even I'm sure there's still some misleading there, but that's one indicator. And also when we're taking in these good, healthy, whole, nutritious foods, so important, you guys, not to be taking in sugars or the processed sugars, because that removes your cells no longer have room to take in that nutrition because they're filled with the sugar. So when you're doing this and it's not working, take a look again at your diet and make sure you're void of those sugars.
There are no essential carbs. There are essential amino acids, which again, amino acids are the foundation of protein, and there are essential fats. So that's where everything was kind of distorted. And when you look to healthy fats, like coming from coconut, so beneficial, coming from avocados, coming from nuts, these things are going to help us. Now, if you're talking fat that's on the side of a slab of steak, well, maybe not so much. That could be a problem. But when you look at the plant-based fats, they tend to be extremely healthy for us. And when our body goes into ketosis, that could be really, really beneficial. And that's when we're burning the fat stores in the body. Toxins are stored in fats. So again, we want to naturally be a little bit on the leaner side. One of the things for longevity is shown is caloric restriction. That always shows that you will increase your longevity if you restrict your caloric intake. Most people could cut 20-30% of their calories that they take in every day, as long as you're covering yourself with good nutritionally based food. You're going to probably end up living longer. A lot of studies have shown that people that take 20-30% of their calories and reduce by that amount will live about 7 years longer on average. And that's really the only thing that consistently shows an increase in longevity, study after study. So grape leaves as well. You could wrap the grape leaves like we've seen in some Mediterranean and Greek cooking. Again, high in vitamin K and calcium. And they actually contain 2% fat, which is a surprisingly large amount for a green vegetable, and good omega-3s, as you see. You have to explore and experiment. Plantain as well, high in beta-carotene and calcium. And then we could go on to purslane, and this might be something that you've said, oh, wow, I've thrown so much of that away when I was doing the weeding. Again, this is something that can be eaten raw, slightly sour and salty taste, but again, 6 times more vitamin E than spinach. And we've been looking at it like a weed. And I looked at it like a weed, and I think it was Rosemary I sent some pictures of the garden to. And she said, do you see that stuff there? Don't pull that out. Don't throw that away. That's going to be better for you than your spinach, and it might be growing wild. Again, it's good to get books and refer to somebody that really knows. Like our backyard right now is just overrun with wild strawberries, but I don't know if they are the edible one or not. We're contacting some of our experts to see.
Well, she did get back on that, and actually one is just very flavorless, but they're both okay.
Okay, well, that's wonderful, because we have a ton of wild strawberries now. Yeah. How about wild violets? They're known for their powerful blood purifying attributes. They can stimulate the lymphatic system, and also known for their skin clearing qualities. And red and black raspberries, which we also have a mix of back there as well. Very, very beneficial. High levels of antioxidants. So again, check your grow zone and see what's going to do well where you are. And, there might be a ton of this stuff that's out there, and you might have, in the times to come, a lot of hungry people in your neighborhood that don't know that there's things out there that can be so healthy for them nutritionally.
Very much so. And a couple of my favorite people I love to talk to and bounce things off of is Nicole. She is such a plethora of good information when it comes to what's growing, how to grow it, what areas it grows best in. And Rosemary, always having these folks that understand, that have the really green thumb, because it's like they can channel this information so easily. It just comes naturally to them. And that's where it benefits us to reach out and make friends.
Absolutely. And, you probably would have seen them more when we were doing more lives. And because of just a lot of personal issues in our lives, from things like the signal in New Mexico, because we were out in the middle of nowhere, and then so much of the time living in the camper in the middle of the desert, it got to be really tough to do the lives, and then just the energetic attacks that would come through when we were doing the lives. But we do plan on going back to doing some lives in the near future and try to incorporate that in on a regular basis. Nicole, she is let's just say in the eastern side of the country on like 120 acres. And, this woman is amazing. She's like, she's like a throwback pioneer woman that would have been perfectly at home in 1800 or even 17 something when, it was really a lot more wild than things are today, even though in some ways we're more wild now. She can do everything. And then, Rosemary's bank of knowledge is just incredible as well. Two amazing ladies. And then, of course, our brother Dave over in the UK who, grows enough food in his apartment, just in a typical apartment. There's enough food growing in his typical apartment. And then he did secure what we were talking about. In an urban setting, a small little lot to grow food, and he put a greenhouse in, and he's got tons of stuff growing. He's going to be able to really support a lot of people in his neighborhood. And this is in an urban environment where there's a will, there's a way, and we need to do things that are going to make us come together in these times, not prey upon each other, not panic buying like we saw with this lady over here that's just like, oh my God, there's not going to be any burgers. We got to get them now. We're going to have to adjust, and a dandelion green salad might be it someday. We're going to see, but again, now is the time. This is really last minute preparation time is where we're at right now. And again, we could keep preparing more as we move forward. And again, we want to thank you guys to subscribe, and also, just double check, make sure you are subscribed to both channels, EEARTS and Evolutionary Energy Arts. And we want to thank our Patreon supporters, because we would not be able to keep going with this if it wasn't for the supporters over at Patreon, and then also on Ko-Fi, where you could do a one-time donation or recurring monthly donations in multiples of $5, just like over on Patreon. And also do check out Medicinal Foods. They understand the bigger picture, and they're wonderful people that understand that we're leaving the Kali Yuga. Use coupon code EEA and get a discount. It does support the channel as well. As always, guys, much love. Hope this helps. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.